terrible defending is perhaps the right segue into a very eventful and very entertaining 3-3 draw on Sunday night. Borussia Dortmund traveled to Eintracht Frankfurt. They were 2-0 down, they were 3-2 down, but in the end they came away with a point after that very impressive midweek performance that Christoph and I talked about in our special edition for supporters only. Jonas, what did you make of this game? Was it another step back for Dortmund from the highs of the Newcastle game, in as much that they didn't defend properly, took a long time to get going, or was it ultimately a good point which showed the newfound resilience that we saw at St. James's Park?
So I think it was a huge step forward, to be honest. I mean, if you compare this season's BVB performances to last year's season, I think last year at that point of the season, they would have lost 3-4-0 because of, I don't know, their lack of resiliency, as you called it. I think that's a good term. But they're also getting more mature every day and every week. And in general, I think, I mean, we were talking a little bit about defending. They are not defending well, but at least they are trying, right? I mean, everybody's running. They have a weird midfield, a weird mixture of players, especially as a holding six. I think we're going to talk about it a little bit deeper. But in general, I think they are making progress because they had a huge win during the week. Tough game. I think everybody's kind of a little bit exhausted at that stage of the season because of all the national competition, international competitions. Everybody had to travel, or most of the people had to travel. So in general, I think it was a win, or a 1 point, if that's a proper term.
You already mentioned the holding six at Borussia. In general, we were discussing in recent weeks what direction Edin Terzic is heading to, and with the team. What do you think is his main idea? We've been talking about balance a lot in that context, because what we see now is that they try to have a slower build-up pretty often, more cautious build-up. But tell us, what do you think is their main idea? Or his main idea?
That is a tough question. That is a really, really tough question. I think Edin Terzic is a very player-focused coach. So he's not so much focusing on a whole system, on a whole approach. Okay, I'm an offensive coach, I'm a defensive coach. He's very keen on putting those players in position who have the best form, who are probably in a better shape than others. So this is, I think, his main idea in terms of who's on the pitch, and in terms of the formation in general. He wants to, like, his setup is over the fullbacks usually, but now it's a little different. Last year was Guerrero, one of the best technical players in the league. Now there's Rami Benzebaini, who's more physical. It's a little different. Marius Wolf is different than Riasson. So I think there's not this one main idea at BVB. They want to attack through the middle in the offense. I think that's pretty obvious because they don't have that classical winger. Even Donny Malen, the Dutch guy, is somebody who's always tending to go through the middle and to not go to the last line. And yeah, at some point it seems, I think, hard to understand what his idea is, but yeah, I think he wants to win games. I know that's a very poor statement, but yeah, he's a coach. He has this approach on the game, which I just try to explain, but it's not that easy to understand. If you look at Pep or others, or even Thomas Tuchel at Bayern, they have a more obvious idea of the game. Are you satisfied with that response? Probably not.
We'll try to dig a bit deeper. I mean, you said the midfield is a bit weird.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
Weird in terms of
Moment mal. Entschuldigung. Darf ich mal kurz technisch dazwischen gerätschen? Kannst du ein Stück weiter weg vom Mikro? Es poppt sonst so laut. Danke. Ich glaube, beim Fernsehen habt ihr dickere Popschutze drauf.
Das kann sein.
Danke.
So the midfield. So if you look at the main person in midfield, and it's Emre Can if he's playing as a holding six, and he's such a physical guy. He's not that classic holding six, you know, like Xabi Alonso, or even like Kimmich is similar, but Bayern, you cannot compare that. Maybe Granit Xhaka at Leverkusen, who are like really focusing on being in front of the center backs. But in general, they are very, yeah, if you would be amongst us and not in the media, I would say they do whatever they want. So everybody's kind of running from left to the right, from defense to offense. Julian Brandt is the best player in the team at the moment. He's usually a player in the center midfield, like a number 10, sometimes playing at the wing at BVB. So they don't have that classic setup. Reus is a mixed player. Like he's very ambiguous in terms of his position. So sometimes he's further in the front, sometimes he's falling behind, and then you have Salih Özcan, who's more typical classic six. They played, I think, like 3 weeks ago. They played with 2 number sixes. I think that was pretty good because there was always somebody in front of the center backs. But I'm watching literally every BVB game, and I still don't get a clear idea or clear view on how they want to position themselves on the pitch. Sometimes they're attacking, sometimes just behind, like they did against Frankfurt, where they were very deep in their own half at some point. But yeah, I think the biggest struggle they have is to find that one person who is really focusing on being a holding six or being in the center of the in front of the center backs.
What I found interesting yesterday, in the first half especially, that they were so open to counterattacks, especially on the right side. It was better than in the second half when Gio Reyna was put off, and but also Bensebaini was giving his opponents a lot of space. What do you think was the initial idea behind it, and what almost went completely wrong?
You mean in general yesterday?
Yeah,
for the game.
Yeah.
So I think they went into the game and didn't want to attack that much. But Frankfurt's a weird team as well. They really don't know if they are attacking, team, or if they want to be more like a defending team. Sometimes they have a lot of possession, sometimes they don't. So I think in general they were just very, very tired at the beginning. I think you saw that if you looked at the faces, everybody was like, the body language was very, not negative, but was like, okay, this is going to be a tough game. So it was pretty obvious after they conceded the first goal that this can be a very tough game. But in general, I think they completely knew what Frankfurt wants to do. I think Ansgar Knauf played as in the starting 11 because of that, because BVB is weak when it comes to counterattacks, because they're sometimes just a little tired in terms of defending. Sometimes because they don't have that winger who is gonna attack the fullback of the opponent, right? So this is always where they are struggling. If the fullbacks are attacking the opponent's fullbacks, then there's a lot of space behind them. And yeah, this is their struggle. This is why I want them to play with a back five, but nobody wants that.